What if I told you that it's supposed to be hard? That the challenges, the obstacles, the pain, and the setbacks aren't just random acts of misfortune or punishment, but are, in fact, crucial parts of the human experience. That they're intentional and meaningful? I can see some of you nodding your heads, and I can also see some of you thinking, what does he mean by that? Let me explain. We've all been through tough times, haven't we? Times when it felt like the weight of the world was on our shoulders. Times when we couldn't see a way out of the darkness. Maybe you're going through one of those times right now. Maybe you're feeling overwhelmed by the difficulties you're facing, and you're asking yourself, why me? Why is this happening? And you know what? That's a natural response. It's okay to feel that way. But let's take a moment to think about this a little deeper. Why do we often feel overwhelmed by difficulties? Have you ever asked yourself that? Why is it that when things get tough, we feel so powerless, so small? It's because we're looking at those difficulties as enemies. We see them as things that are here to break us down, to make us suffer, to keep us from living the life we want to live. But what if I told you that difficulties are not our enemies? What if I told you that they are, in fact, our greatest teacher? Think about it. Every challenge you've ever faced has taught you something, hasn't it? Even if it didn't feel like it at the time. Even if it was painful and hard and you didn't understand it. Looking back, you can see that it shaped you in some way. It pushed you to grow. It forced you to learn something about yourself that you might never have discovered otherwise. Maybe it made you stronger, more resilient, more compassionate. Maybe it showed you how much you can handle, how much strength you have inside of you that you didn't even know was there. You see, difficulties are part of the human experience. They're designed to push us toward growth and understanding. Without them, we would never know what we're truly capable of. We would never have the opportunity to develop the qualities that make us who we are. So, when we find ourselves in the midst of a struggle, instead of asking, why is this happening to me? We might ask, what is this here to teach me? How can I grow from this? And this isn't just about big, life-changing challenges. It's about the little everyday difficulties too. The ones that test our patience, our kindness, our ability to stay calm and centered when things don't go our way. These moments are just as important as the big ones because they give us a chance to practice who we want to be. They give us a chance to choose how we respond, to decide whether we're going to let them bring us down or use them as opportunities to rise up. Now, I'm not saying that we should go looking for trouble or that we should enjoy suffering. Not at all. What I'm saying is that when life does get hard, and we have a choice. We can see these hard times as something to be avoided, something to be afraid of, or we can see them for what they really stepping stones on the path to becoming the person we were meant to be. I know this isn't always easy to do. I know that when you're in the middle of a tough time, it can be hard to see the silver lining. But remember, life's challenges are not here to punish us. They're here to help us grow. They're here to show us what we're made of. They're here to push us to become stronger, wiser, more compassionate, more loving. So the next time you find yourself facing a challenge, try to remember this. It's supposed to be hard. It's supposed to push you. It's supposed to make you uncomfortable. And that's okay. In fact, it's more than okay. It's exactly as it, because it's in these moments of struggle that we find our strengths. It's in these moments of difficulty that we discover who we really, there's a common belief that life is supposed to be easy, or at least comfortable most of the time. We hear it everywhere. Work hard and everything will fall into place, or just think positively, and all your dreams will come true. While I'm a big believer in hard work and positive thinking, I'm also here to tell you that life isn't always easy, and it's not meant to be. We live in a world that often sells the idea of a perfect, effortless life. The notion that if we're not always happy and comfortable, something's wrong. But let me ask you something. When you look back on your life, do you remember the times that were easy and carefree the most? Or is it the times when things were tough, when you had to dig deep and find strength you didn't know you had, that stand out? I want to share a story with you about a friend of mine. She was an incredibly talented artist, full of passion and creativity. But like many of us, she faced her share of struggles. She had big dreams of sharing her art with the world, but for years she faced rejection after rejection. Galleries turned her away, critics were harsh, and her confidence was shattered. She could have given up. Many people would have, but she didn't. Instead, she decided to use those rejections as fuel. She realized that every no was pushing her to refine her craft, to dig deeper into her soul and find out what she really wanted to say through her art. And eventually, her perseverance paid off. She started getting noticed, and her work began to sell. She became known for the depth and emotion in her pieces, something she told me she never would have found if everything had been easy. Let me ask you this. What if the hard times we go through are actually the times that shape us the most? Think about it. The times when we're tested, when things don't go as planned, when we feel like giving up. Aren't these the times that force us to grow, to learn, to become more than we were before? When I think about the struggles I've faced in my own life, I realize that they weren't just bumps in the road. They were the road. They were the path that led me to where I am today. And I bet if you look at your own life, you'll see the same thing. Struggles have a way of revealing who we really are. They strip away the layers and show us what's underneath, and that's not always a bad thing. In fact, it can be one of the greatest gifts we receive. Think about someone who's been through a tough time. Maybe it's a friend, a family member, or even yourself. When you see them come out the other side, don't they seem stronger, more resilient? Don't they have a deeper appreciation for life and what it means to be truly alive? There's something about facing challenges that brings out the best in us. It's like a muscle that gets stronger the more we use it. Every time we push through a difficult situation, we build that muscle a little more. We become a little tougher, a little more capable, a little more able to handle whatever comes our way. But here's the thing. Without challenges, without struggles, there would be no opportunities for personal growth. If everything was always easy, if we never faced any difficulties, we'd never have a reason to stretch ourselves to go beyond what we think we're capable of. I remember a time in my own life when I was going through a particularly rough patch. I had just lost someone very close to me, and I felt like the ground had been pulled out from under me. I was devastated, lost, and didn't know how I was going to get through it. But in the midst of that pain, something shifted. I realized that I had a choice. I could let this loss define me, or I could use it as a catalyst to grow. I chose the latter. I decided to honor the memory of my loved one by living my life in a way that would make them proud. I chose to focus on the love we shared rather than the loss I felt. And you know what? That experience, as painful as it was, taught me more about love, compassion, and the human spirit than anything else ever could. It showed me that even in our darkest moments, there's light to be found. And that light, my friends, is what guides us through. So if you're going through a tough time right now, I want you to remember this. It's not here to break you. It's here to make you. It's here to show you how strong you really are, how much you're capable of, and how much you have to give. Don't shy away from the hard times. Don't run from them. Embrace them, learn from them, and let them shape you into the person you're meant to be. Because it's in those moments of struggle that we find our strength, our resilience, and our true selves. And remember, you're not alone. Every single person in this room has faced their own challenges. We all have scars, we all have stories, and we all have the strength to overcome whatever comes our way. Now let's talk about resilience. We hear that word a lot, but what does it really mean? Resilience is our ability to bounce back from life's challenges, to keep moving forward even when things don't go our way. It's about being able to adapt, to find our footing again when we've been knocked down. In many ways, resilience is the secret ingredient to living a fulfilling life. It's what allows us to thrive in the face of adversity. But how do we develop resilience when life seems to be throwing everything at us? When we feel like we've reached our breaking point, when it seems like we can't take one more thing going wrong? How do we find that strength within ourselves to keep going? I want you to think of resilience like a muscle, just like with any muscle. The more we use it, the stronger it gets. When we lift weights, our muscles break down a little bit, and then they rebuild stronger than before. The same is true for resilience. Every time we face a challenge and push through it, we're building our resilience muscle. We're getting a little bit stronger, a little bit tougher, a little bit more capable of handling whatever comes next. Let me share a story with you about a man who built his resilience muscle to an extraordinary degree. He was someone who faced more challenges than most of us could ever imagine. This man grew up in extreme poverty, lost his father at a young age, and faced countless setbacks throughout his life. But despite all of that, he became one of the most influential leaders in history. I'm talking about Nelson Mandela. Mandela spent 27 years in prison, unjustly incarcerated for standing up against a racist system. Can you imagine that? 27 years of his life taken away, locked in a cell. Most people would have given up, but not Mandela. He used that time to strengthen his mind, to educate himself, and to prepare for the day when he would be free again. He didn't let bitterness consume him. Instead, he emerged from prison with a message of forgiveness and reconciliation, ready to lead his country to a new era of freedom and equality. Mandela's story teaches us that persistence isn't about never facing challenges or never feeling discouraged. It's about choosing to keep going no matter how many times we get knocked down. It's about understanding that failure is not the end. It's just a step along the way. Every setback is an opportunity to learn, to grow, and to become stronger. Another example is J.K. Rowling, the author of the Harry Potter series. She was a single mother struggling to make ends meet when she wrote the first book. She faced numerous rejections from publishers before finally getting a break. But she didn't let those rejections stop her. She believed in her story, and she kept writing, kept submitting, kept pushing forward. And today, her books have inspired millions of people around the world. These stories show us that resilience and persistence are not about never failing. They're about never giving up. They're about getting back up every time we fall, dusting ourselves off, and trying again. It's about having the courage to keep moving forward, even when the path is steep and the obstacles seem insurmountable. Now, I know that maintaining a positive attitude in the face of adversity isn't always easy. It's natural to feel frustrated, to feel like the world is against us, to want to throw in the towel when things aren't going our way. Our attitude is one of the few things we have control over. We can't always control what happens to us, but we can control how we respond to it. Think about it. When something goes wrong, we have a choice. We can let it bring us down, or we can choose to see it as an opportunity to grow. We can choose to let it make us bitter, or we can choose to let it make us better. It's all about perspective. Let me tell you about a time when I faced a difficult situation in my own life. There was a point when things weren't going the way I had hoped. I was feeling lost and discouraged, wondering why all of my efforts seemed to be in vain. I felt like giving up, like maybe this path just wasn't meant for me. But then I remembered something important. Life isn't supposed to be easy. It's supposed to challenge us, to test us, to push us to our limits, so that we can discover just how strong we really are. I realized that I had a choice. I could let my circumstances define me, or I could choose to define my circumstances. I could choose to see my struggles as an opportunity to build my resilience muscle, to learn, to grow, and to become a better person because of them. And that's exactly what I did. I chose to keep going, to keep believing in myself, and to keep pushing forward, even when the road was tough. And you know what? I came out on the other side stronger, wiser, and more resilient than ever before. I learned that there's always a light at the end of the tunnel, but sometimes we have to create that light ourselves. We have to believe in it, even when we can't see it. So when life feels overwhelming, when it seems like everything is going wrong, remember, you have the power to choose your response. You have the power to keep going, to keep pushing forward, to keep believing in yourself, no matter what. And that, my friends, is what resilience is all about. Resilience is not something we're born with. It's something we build one step at a time, one challenge at a time, one setback at a time. It's about choosing to see every difficulty as an opportunity to grow, to learn, and to become stronger. Now, I want to talk about something that I believe is at the very heart of our human experience, Penny, and we've all felt it. We've all been through times when it seemed like the hurt would never end, when the world seemed so heavy that we didn't know how we would keep going. But what if I told you that pain and suffering are often gateways to discovering deeper meaning in life? What if the hardest moments we go through are actually the ones that shape us, that lead us to find our true purpose? Think about it for a moment. What if our greatest struggles could lead us to our greatest purpose? I know that might sound strange at first. After all, when we're in pain, the last thing we're thinking about is purpose. We're just trying to survive, trying to get through the day. But what if pain wasn't just something to be endured? What if it was something that could teach us, something that could guide us to where we're meant to be? Many people have found their life's mission through their toughest experiences. Take Viktor Frankl, for example. Frankl was a psychiatrist who spent years in a concentration camp during World War II. He witnessed unimaginable horrors and suffered tremendous loss. But instead of letting that pain destroy him, he used it to fuel his life's work. He developed a form of therapy based on finding meaning in life, even in the most difficult circumstances. He found purpose through his pain, and in doing so, he helped countless others find theirs. Or think about someone closer to home, someone you might know personally. Maybe it's a friend who went through a terrible illness but came out on the other side with a new perspective on life. Maybe it's a family member who lost a loved one but found a way to honor their memory by helping others who are going through similar pain. These people didn't let their suffering define them. Instead, they chose to see it as a teacher, as a guide that could lead them to something greater. You see, pain has a way of stripping away the superficial, the unnecessary. It forces us to confront what really matters, to look deep within ourselves and ask the big questions. Who am I? Why am I here? What do I want to do with my life? These are the kinds of questions that we often don't think about when everything is going well. But when we're in pain, when we're struggling, that's when we start to search for answers. That's when we start to find out what we're truly made of. So I encourage you to take a moment and reflect on your own experiences. Think about the times in your life when you faced challenges, when you've been in pain, when you felt like giving up. What did those experiences teach you? How did they shape you? What strengths did you discover within yourself that you didn't know you had? Maybe it was a difficult breakup that taught you the importance of self-love and self-respect. Maybe it was the loss of a job that pushed you to pursue your true passion. Maybe it was a health scare that made you realize the importance of taking care of yourself, of living each day to the fullest. Whatever it was, I want you to see it, not as a setback, but as a stepping stone. Not as a punishment, but as a lesson. Not as something to be feared, but as something to be embraced. I know this isn't easy. I know that when we're in the middle of a tough time, it can be hard to see the bigger picture. It can be hard to find meaning in the midst of pain. But I promise you it's there. It's always there. We just have to be willing to look for it, to open our hearts and minds to the possibility that our struggles are not just random acts of misfortune, but are part of a greater plan, a greater purpose. That brings me to an important point. The mindset shift from victim to victor. When we see ourselves as victims of our circumstances, we give away our power. We let the pain control us, define us, hold us back. But when we choose to see ourselves as victors, as warriors who are capable of overcoming anything life throws our way, we reclaim our power. We take control of our narrative. We decide that we are not going to let our struggles break us, but rather build us. So let's make that choice today. Let's choose to see our pain as a teacher, our struggles as stepping stones, our hardships as opportunities to grow and evolve. Let's choose to be victors, not victims. Let's choose to find purpose in our pain, knowing that every challenge we face is guiding us to where we're meant to be. Remember, life isn't about avoiding pain. It's about learning from it, growing through it, and finding the strength and wisdom that comes from facing it head-on. It's about turning our struggles into strengths, our setbacks into comebacks. Let's talk about something that can make a huge difference in how we experience life, our mindset. There's a concept I want to share with you that's incredibly powerful. It's the idea of the victim mindset. versus the victor mindset. This idea can transform the way we see the world and the way we deal with everything life throws at us. When we have a victim mindset, we see ourselves as being at the mercy of our circumstances. We feel like life is happening to us and we have no control over it. We blame our problems on other people or on bad luck. We focus on what we don't have and what we think we deserve but aren't getting. And because of this, we end up feeling powerless, stuck, and often resentful. But the victor mindset is completely different. With a victor mindset, we see ourselves as in charge of our own lives. We recognize that while we can't always control what happens to us, we can control how we respond to it. We take responsibility for our reactions, our attitudes, and our choices. Instead of seeing ourselves as victims of our circumstances, we see ourselves as victors over them. We focus on what we can do, what we have, and how we can make the best of any situation. Now, you might be thinking, but how do we move from feeling like victims of our circumstances to feeling like victors over them? It's a great question, and the answer is simpler than you might think. It all starts with taking responsibility for our reactions to what happens to us. You see, the shift from victim to victor doesn't happen overnight. And it doesn't mean that we won't still feel pain, disappointment, or frustration. Those feelings are a natural part of life. But it does mean that we choose not to stay in those feelings. We decide to use them as stepping stones to a better place. One of the most powerful ways to make this shift is by seeing challenges as opportunities rather than obstacles. Think about it. Every challenge we face is an opportunity to learn, to grow, and to become stronger. When we start looking at life this way, we begin to see that even the hardest situations have something to offer us. We begin to understand that we are not defined by what happens to us, but by how we choose to respond to it. It's also crucial to surround ourselves with positive influences. The people we spend time with have a huge impact on how we see the world and how we see ourselves. If we're constantly around negativity, it's easy to feel dragged down. But if we surround ourselves with people who lift us up, who believe in us and who encourage us to be our best selves, it becomes much easier to adopt a victor mindset. That brings us to something very important: the power of faith and belief in oneself. Faith isn't just about believing in something outside of ourselves. It's also about believing in our own abilities. And so what role does faith play when everything seems to be going wrong? Faith gives us the courage to keep going, even when the path is unclear. It's the quiet voice that says, keep going. You're stronger than you think. It's the belief that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, even when we can't see it yet. So I encourage each of you to embrace the victor mindset. Take responsibility for your reactions, see challenges as opportunities, practice gratitude and self-compassion, and surround yourself with positive influences. Believe in yourself and your ability to overcome any obstacle. Have faith, not only in a higher power, but also in yourself. And remember, no matter what life throws at you, you have the strength to rise above it, to become the victor, and to create the life you've always dreamed of. Let's talk about something that we all face, something that's a part of every one of our lives. Uncertainty is that feeling of not knowing what's going to happen next. It's that uncomfortable space where we're unsure of the future, where things are unpredictable, and we feel like we're standing on shaky ground. And you know what? As human beings, we often don't like that feeling. We crave certainty. We want to know what's coming, and we want to feel in control. But here's the thing. Life doesn't work like that, does it? Life is full of twists and turns, ups and downs, and unexpected surprises. No matter how much we plan, no matter how much we try to control, there's always going to be a level of uncertainty. And that's just a part of being alive. What if, instead of fearing the unknown, we embraced it as a natural part of life? What if we could learn to find peace in the uncertainty, to see it not as something to be afraid of, but as something to be welcomed? You see, when we embrace uncertainty, we open ourselves up to a world of possibilities. We stop trying to control everything and we start to trust the process of life. We begin to understand that not knowing what's going to happen next isn't a problem. It's an opportunity. It's a chance to grow, to learn, to explore, and to discover new things about ourselves and the world around us. There's a certain peace that comes from letting go of the need for control. When we stop trying to predict every outcome, when we stop worrying about what might happen, we free ourselves from a lot of unnecessary stress and anxiety. We begin to live more in the moment, to appreciate the here and now, and to trust that whatever comes our way, we have the strength and the resilience to handle it. I want to share a story with you about a friend of mine who truly embodied this idea of embracing uncertainty. She was in a job that she loved, doing work that she was passionate about, when suddenly the company she worked for went through a major restructuring. Out of nowhere, she found herself without a job. She had no idea what she was going to do next, and at first she was terrified. But instead of letting that fear paralyze her, she decided to see this unexpected turn of events as an opportunity. She thought, maybe this is a chance for me to do something different, to try something new, to explore possibilities that I never would have considered if I had stayed in that job. She started volunteering for different organizations, exploring different interests, and meeting new people. And you know what happened? She discovered a new passion, something she had never even thought about before. She found herself working with a nonprofit organization that focused on environmental conservation, something she had always cared about, but never thought she could turn into a career. She ended up finding a new job in a field that was even more fulfilling than the one she had lost. This is the power of embracing uncertainty. When we let go of our need to control every aspect of our lives, when we allow ourselves to be open to the unknown, we create space for new opportunities to come our way. We give ourselves a chance to discover things that we never would have imagined if we had stayed stuck in our old ways of thinking. So I encourage you to think about your own life. Are there areas where you're holding on too tightly, trying to control every outcome, afraid of what might happen if things don't go according to plan? What would happen if you just let go a little bit? If you allowed yourself to be open to the unknown, if you trusted that life has a way of working things out, even if we don't always understand how. It's not always easy to do this, I know. It's natural to want to feel secure, to have a sense of stability and predictability. But the truth is, the only thing we can really count on in life is that things will change. And when we can learn to be okay with that, when we can learn to see uncertainty as a canvas of endless possibilities, we find a kind of freedom that we never knew was possible. Think about it this way. When you walk into a blank room with a canvas and a bunch of paint, you don't know exactly what you're going to create. There's uncertainty there, but there's also excitement, isn't there? There's potential. There's the possibility of creating something beautiful, something unique, something that's never been seen before. Life is a lot like that. We may not always know what's coming next, but that doesn't mean we have to be afraid of it. We can choose to see it as an adventure, as an opportunity to create something new, something beautiful, something meaningful. I think about all the times in my own life when things didn't go the way I planned. At the time, it felt like everything was falling apart, like my world was spinning out of control. But looking back, I realized that those moments were some of the most important ones in my life. They taught me to let go, trust, to have faith that everything was going to be okay. They showed me that even when I couldn't see the way forward, there was always a path, always a light, always a new opportunity waiting just around the corner. So the next time you find yourself facing uncertainty, I want you to remember this. It's not something to be afraid of. It's not something to fight against. It's something to embrace. It's an invitation to explore, to learn, to grow, and to create. It's a chance to find new joy, new success, new fulfillment in ways that you never could have imagined. And as you embrace the unknown, as you let go of your need for control, I promise you, you'll start to see life in a whole new way. You'll start to find peace. Even in the midst of chaos, you'll start to see that life is full of possibilities and that the only limits are the ones we place on ourselves. This brings us to an important realization that every hardship, every struggle, every moment of uncertainty is not a setback, but a setup for something greater. It's a chance to find strength we didn't know we had, to discover new passions, to build resilience, and to create a life that's more beautiful and more fulfilling than anything we ever could have planned. So let's celebrate the unknown. Let's embrace uncertainty. Let's trust the process of life, knowing that even when we can't see the way forward, there is always a way. And let's remember that the rewards of overcoming hardship are not just about achieving our goals, but about becoming the person we were meant to be. Let's talk about the rewards that come from facing and overcoming difficult times. We've all been through our share of hardships, and while it's easy to see them as obstacles or setbacks, there's so much more to these experiences than meets the eye. I want you to think for a moment about what we truly gain when we push through our hardest moments. What do we really take away from these times that test us, that challenge us, that force us to dig deep and find strength we never knew we had? When we face and overcome difficult times, the rewards are often far greater than we could have ever imagined. It's not just about getting through to the other side. It's about who we become in the process. We grow, we learn, we gain wisdom, we develop empathy and a deeper appreciation for life. These are the true gifts that come from hardship, gifts that can't be taken away from us no matter what else happens. Think about someone who has faced a significant challenge in their life. Maybe it's someone you know personally, or maybe it's a public figure whose story has inspired you. How did they emerge from that experience? Chances are they came out stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. They found a new sense of purpose, a deeper understanding of themselves, and a greater appreciation for the people around them. Let me share with you a story about a woman named Malala Yousafzai. Malala grew up in a part of the world where girls were not allowed to go to school. She believed passionately in the right to education and spoke out, even when it was dangerous to. One day, she was attacked by those who wanted to silence her voice, and she was left fighting for her life. But Malala did not let this stop her. She did not let fear or pain or hardship define her. Instead, she used her experience to become a powerful advocate for education for all, winning the Nobel Peace Prize and inspiring millions around the world. Malala's story shows us that when we face our greatest challenges, we have the potential to find our greatest strengths. We have the opportunity to turn our pain into purpose, to use our struggles to make a positive impact in the world. And it's not just about the big dramatic stories. Every single one of us has faced challenges, and every single one of us has the power to use those experiences to grow, to learn, and to become our best selves. I want you to think about a time in your own life when you faced a difficult situation. Maybe it was a loss, a failure, a setback, or a disappointment. How did you handle it? What did you learn from it? How did it shape you into the person you are today? I bet if you really think about it, you'll see that those experiences taught you something valuable. They made you stronger, more resilient, more compassionate. They gave you a deeper understanding of what's truly important in life. This is why I believe that every challenge is a stepping stone to becoming our best selves. It's through facing adversity that we discover who we really are. It's through overcoming hardship that we develop the qualities that make us truly human: strength, resilience, empathy, and love. And that brings us back to the central message of what we've been talking about today. It's supposed to be hard. Life is not meant to be a smooth, easy path. It's meant to challenge us, to push us to grow. It's meant to test our limits and to help us discover what we're truly capable of. And when we embrace this truth, when we stop fighting against the difficulties and start seeing them as opportunities for growth, that's when we truly begin to live. So let's celebrate the hard times. Let's be grateful for the challenges that come our way, knowing that each one is a gift in disguise. Let's face our struggles with courage and determination, knowing that they are shaping us into the people we're meant to. And let's support each other on this incredible path of life, knowing that we're all in this together, learning, growing, and becoming our best selves. I want to leave you with this thought. Life is a beautiful, complex, and sometimes challenging experience. It's full of ups and downs, twists and turns, and unexpected surprises. But every single moment, every single challenge, every single hardship is a part of the process. It's all part of the journey. We're on to becoming who we're meant to be. So let's embrace it all. The good and the bad, the easy and the hard, the known and the unknown. Let's see every experience as an opportunity to grow, to learn, and to become the best version of ourselves. Let's live with purpose, with passion, and with a deep sense of gratitude for all that life has.